Hello, everyone. Welcome to our XeroCon App Academy. We're going to give it a few minutes while people come in. So welcome. We're excited to have you here with us today. And with that, I am going to hand the reins over to Fahad to get started with his presentation today.
Excellent. Amy, thank you so much for having us here
Welcome.
today. And just audio check, everything looks good? Oh,
Yes.
so thanks, team. First and foremost, I got to throw some disclaimers out there. I'm dyslexic, so if during the presentation I slip, I say something that doesn't sound right, but it reads right on the screen, go with that. Or if you see a typo in my demo, I'm human, bear with me on that. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and we'll go through today's topic. So I'm going to ask the age-old question. Are y'all able to see my screen right now?
Oh, here we go. It looks good. You are ready.
All right. So I want to thank you all. Today we're going to be talking about insightful inventory management for insightful accountants. And I'm going to be introducing you to Xero Inventory Plus. Recently, we had our XeroCon, which was a couple weeks back. I had the great opportunity of meeting the Insightful Accountant team, as well as Avalara team. And basically, I just want to say that's when we launched Inventory Plus. So we're going to go through and rather than, I'm already rambling. I'm Fahad. I'm a partner consultant on the Xero team. What does a partner consultant do if you're not familiar with it? We work with accounting firms, bookkeeping firms, our partners, to help them utilize Xero and utilize all the tools and platforms there. My specific role will either be on onboarding, assisting, and being that point of contact through that process. For right now, it's specifically on what we've launched, Inventory Plus. That being said, I like to go over the agenda if my little arrow keys worked. What are we going to be discussing today? Inventory Plus is a system primarily designed for e-commerce. So we're going to talk about the state of e-commerce today as a whole. We're going to go into the product itself and have the product updates around Inventory Plus. And I think it's always important. Let's have a demonstration of the actual product itself. So that being said, e-commerce right now. I think it's important for us as accountants and bookkeepers to really understand why are there tools coming up for this? Why is it important? And why should we care? And one thing that often comes up from my time in practice, prior to my time at Xero, was a hesitancy to approach these clients, but I don't think we can have that anymore. About 10 years ago, you can do a lot of manual work and handle it, but the way the industry is growing, 16% of sales of Q2 were all e-commerce. Now, what does that 16% translate to? Well, it's about $1.2 trillion annually, right? And the projections on where e-commerce is going to go is just absolutely astronomical. So it's important for us as insightful accountants, as those advisors, to really be in a position to understand this space as a whole. And I think what's important before we even go into how this tool helps you as an accountant or, where does it fit in the mix? What are the pain points that your team is facing, or your client, sorry, more specifically, is facing? And so that being said, this is what a lot of small business owners are struggling with, right? They're on e-commerce, they've started their business, they're growing, they're selling, and they're scaling up, but they only look at it individually. So what ends up happening, they've got many different platforms that they're trying to source information from. They end up spending a lot of time trying to consolidate that just to get clear and accurate inventory numbers so they can handle their operations. And then in that process, they don't think about it holistically. They'll get a bunch of different tools and plugins, and they end up using very costly tools that don't meet their needs because, candidly speaking, they might be enterprise level solutions and they're just not there yet. So this is the pain point of the small business owner. And the reason I'm sharing this is us as the advisors, we should be aware of that, right? Now, here's where I want to share from my time, my experience in public practice as to how did that impact me? And we were spending too much time reconciling. And let me just walk you through a pain point. A lot of us here, this hopefully will resonate with you. Imagine your client is selling on Shopify, on Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon Services, right? And they're tracking inventory in one location, and they're getting expenses for their shipping in another area. So I'm rewinding about 10 years ago, but in that time, I had a spreadsheet for one sales from each system. I had a spreadsheet keeping track of the shipping cost, and then I had a spreadsheet to try and reconcile all that with taxes. This became my life, and I actually had a master spreadsheet to make sure I managed and got all my information correctly. Now, that was in the earlier days of the e-commerce boom, and in that space, that's what we had. All these tools weren't available just yet, but that's what we had to do, and that's what people are still doing, right? And what this ends up leading to for us as the advisors, we're spending way too much time reconciling, trying to bring it all together. And to be honest, we're not able to advise, right? Be the accountant, be the advisor, be that insightful point of contact and, person that's guiding that client. And to share just another example is if you're stuck doing that and you're still struggling to get COGS out of it or landed costs, what value are we really providing to the client? Are we just becoming record keepers, right? Or actually providing them insights? So that's kind of from my experience, hands-on, going through the trenches from my time in public practice. And this is why actually a lot of accountants don't take on clients like this right away. They either don't understand the tech stack involved, or they know that inventory is going to get too messy and they don't bother, right? So that's the state of e-commerce as of right now when it comes to the industry, but how it pertains to us. And so that we can all get our CPE credits, I do have a poll question. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that one. So that poll question right now is, why are accountants and bookkeepers hesitant to take on e-commerce clients? I'll let you read it. I'm not going to read it all out here, but I'll let you read it.
I'll let you know what the consensus is
Sounds good.
as everybody takes it. So far, all of the above is winning.
I hope it is. I tried to get the softballs on these ones.
Yes,
Amy,
all of the above, and then one for A, too many system to pull information from.
well, technically everyone's correct in that one. But yeah, if for that person, too many systems to pull from, happy to chat with you after. And for everyone else, if that's something that resonates with you, I'm hoping that what we're going to talk about next helps you with that. And so those pain points you're seeing on the screen here, that was the inspiration. That was the spark for why Inventory Plus was coming into the, my clicker is not working with me today. That's why Inventory Plus was created, right? It's to address those needs and to bring it all in one place. And that's what we're actually going to be discussing today. Now, I want to show it to you in a few different lenses and formats of what is Inventory Plus. It is an add-on to your Xero subscription for your client. And what we're able to do is bring inventory, finance, and your sales insights all into one place, right? That can be reflected in a few different ways. In a matter that's important for the small business owner from an operations perspective, but then also in a manner that's important for you as the accountant, as the professional, as the insightful advisor there. So this is basically a bird's eye view of what it can do and all the systems we integrate with. From a sales channels perspective, we have Amazon and Shopify. As for our sales tax, our lovely friends that will be speaking right after me is Avalara. And then when it comes to fulfillment, it's Shippo, right? We're going to see a little bit of each of that within the platform. But the reason I'm showcasing it here, when I'm actually demonstrating it, you don't see them because it's so well built into the system. You don't see a big Avalara sign come in because sales tax is beautifully flowing through. You won't see a big Shippo banner because it's built into the product so seamlessly that you and your customers or your clients won't have to worry about that experience. But that's this at a nutshell. But the way I actually like to visualize it and kind of do that, actually, whole question. Sorry, guys. I want to make sure you guys get your CPE credits. So with that being said, for the poll question, simple, straightforward, what e-commerce sales channels does Inventory Plus integrate with? I think it's another softball question. Should be good.
Looks like everybody's saying C, which I'm assuming is correct.
That is correct. Now, I do want to make note that we are constantly working towards adding multiple sales channels. And I want to draw attention actually on this question, which I think it's important. For Amazon, we currently sell on Amazon, or sorry, we currently integrate with Amazon Fulfillment by Amazon Services, which is commonly referred to as FBA. As for Shopify, you're actually able to do both their online and point of sales. For those who work in e-commerce clients, this terminology is very normal. If you have not, all good. I'll talk to you later about how we can book a session to dive in a little bit deeper and learn more about this space. But the answer is correct, both A and B. Now, this is what I'm about to show you in our demonstration in a few moments. I'm going to show you in the platform how we're going to sell it, how we're going to ship it, how we're going to stock it, and how we're going to book it. So if we go back to the two pain points, the two categories of pain points that we talked about, what does a small business owner face? Multi-channel sales management, and the fulfillment process of that. What does the accountant, the insightful accountant, actually face? It's getting all the information centralized and booking it, right? Providing true COGS, factoring in all those things and getting it into the GL. So in today's demonstration, we're going to have a look, but we're going to cover all of this ideally. And I'll do a quick check after the demo just to make sure that, hey, did I hit all of these home? So that being said, let's actually take a look into it. I'm going to shift over my screen and let me know if you are now seeing my Xero demo. I'm inside of a Xero org. Can you all see that right now, or you're still seeing my presentation?
Nope, this is what we see. You're good.
Okay, we're good to go. So I should have put a poll question, and maybe you could put it in the chats. Who here is already a comfortable Xero user, has their firm working with that, or already working with clients on Xero? And I know it's not a poll question, but just actually in the chat, if y'all have a moment, just anything. Sorry, who here is comfortable with Xero as a whole? Do I get to see the chats? One moment. For some reason, I'm not seeing
There's nothing in the chat yet. Let me just see
all
if
good.
it's
All good. Clearly, I'm doing a terrible, boring job, and that's all good. So that being said, I want to make a quick distinction and note here. This is Xero Blue, the screen you're able to see that I'm in. And within Xero Blue, if you're brand new to Xero, we're not going to go straight to Inventory Plus. You would want to first learn the basics of Xero. And oh, chat was disabled. Thanks. Awesome, Sandy. Great to hear. So Sandy,
I just enabled it. Sorry about that.
no problem at all, Amy. Thank you. So Sandy, Scott, you're familiar with this dashboard we're on. Charlie, I will say that I won't be going over a Xero demonstration today. We're going to go straight into Inventory Plus. But how do you get there? You have to go through your main subscription here. So from our Xero Blue, I'm going to click the drop down top left, click Inventory Plus, and this now brings us into the Inventory Plus module. Now, first and foremost, before we go into selling it, shipping it, stocking it, and booking it, we're going to talk about the dashboard where we get to have those insights we were talking about. So you can see the sales orders. You can see amount owed to the vendors. I've been playing around with this account quite a lot. I owe a lot of money to a lot of people. And I can see what's arriving this week based on my POs, which we'll show a little bit later. Now, here, normally you'll see three different bars, one from Amazon, one from Shopify, and then one from any manual orders that you've processed, but you can see it cross-platform. Right? That being said, on the side here, we can see our COGS. This one is very helpful because right now, a lot of clients within the e-commerce space don't have visibility to this. Landed costs end up sitting on the spreadsheet, sitting on the credit card, and just being booked as a basic expense and not being truly reflected. But that being said, I'm digressing a little bit. I think you can tell that I geek out on this stuff, so sometimes I have to keep myself in check and come back to the topic at hand. Now, top selling products. This dashboard is a very SMB, your client-focused piece, unless you're advising on that. But we're going to walk you through how they can sell it and how you don't have to worry about all that information being brought in through spreadsheets or trying to reconcile it. So under the sales tab here, I can go into sales orders. I've been doing a lot of demonstrations today, so you're going to see a bunch of manual ones done by me, but I want to draw your attention to the source of truth, right? The source of the sale. If it shows the user's name, in this case it's my name, it's a manual order. But I want to walk you through. It will show every channel it comes through. So these orders came through my Shopify store. These orders were manually done, and if it was from Amazon, it will show reflectively. So remember that sales section, like sell it, all of it's being consolidated into one place. So I don't have to worry about getting 3 different spreadsheets and bringing them all together. So this is where that lives. Very simple, very straightforward. Again, a reminder from Amazon FBA and for Shopify, you can even have multiple Shopify stores connected into your Inventory Plus account. Now, once I have these orders in place, hey, what do we do here? Well, as the small business owner, what they're going to do is fulfill it. And so they'll come into the fulfillment center, they'll take a look at the respective locations, whether it's their storefront, whether it's going out of their warehouse, whatever it might be, and they're going to go ahead and find an order. And so when they go ahead and find this order, you'll see what the status is. And so it's important to know that you could do a split fulfillment, you could do a full fulfillment. It's all in the control of that small business owner. So let's go ahead and look at an example of us fulfilling an order. Now, while that loads, remember, what I'm showing you is the small business user side of things, how they would interact with it, the operators. But how is it going to be helpful to you? I'll showcase in a minute. Here's the order. We have all the details here brought in. And what I can simply do is select that I'm going to deliver with Shippo. So remember how I mentioned you don't really see the names too bold because it's embedded in the product. Because for this item, I have the weights set up in the products, the measurements, it suggests the weight and the box size I need to use. I can shift that, change that to whatever it needs to be. But once I go ahead and select it, we're good to go. I can actually look at, and lo and behold, I picked the wrong order. Bear with me for 30 seconds. We're going to go on a detour because Murphy's Law, right? I'm just going to go ahead and create a sales order here. Anybody a movie fan? You can let me know in the chat. I hope you get the reference here.
Yes, I definitely know John Wick.
So you know what? I'm detouring, but it's okay. It happens. I'm going to show you how to do a manual sales order. All right. We went ahead, we selected our particular customer. I went ahead and picking my respective items here. I can see the location I want to pick from, whether it's my Denver location or my Houston warehouse. And I'm going to go ahead and sell 2 of them. And I'm going to add this to my purchase order, my sales order, sorry. Once I go ahead and confirm everything is here, notice the sales tax come in. Shout out to Avalara. That's being brought in and automatically calculated, and that'll be pushed out into Xero Blue so that your sales tax reports are there. So I'm going to go ahead and issue, and I can update the address. You get those prompts to confirm, hey, does this line up with what we have in the USPS systems? Go ahead and accept that address. And now I can go to fulfill order. So we're back where we were. Sorry for that detour, but you got a little more insights. Let's go ahead and find from the Denver location. I want to go ahead and fulfill this. And now my Shippo will show the automatic calculations coming in just a moment. And you'll be able to see that by going ahead and selecting whether you want the cheapest option, the fastest option, or showing alternate rates if you wanted to use a different provider. This saved that small business owner time from logging into different systems or actually physically going to those actual shipping providers. I'm not going to actually buy the label. This is linked up to my actual credit card and it will charge it, but that's where I'd get my shipping label and I'd get my packing label. Now, all of this is updating inventory. So what we've covered so far is we've covered how we sell it, meaning it's already happening on our e-commerce channels. It's coming in automatically, so no extra imports or reconciliation there. And then how the business owner is actually fulfilling it. So we did the sell it, the ship it side of it. So now I want to talk about the stock it and the book it side of things. So I say so a lot, so clearly I just did a loop of that. Let's go into how do we stock something. Now, just a high level, I want to showcase to you products, the level of details and the variances that are there. Let's go ahead and pick this particular shirt. We've got our details. If you decide to sync this with Shopify and Amazon directly, your images will come in, your product details will come in. And with Shopify, we also have the opportunity to do a 2-way sync on product details. That being said, you can have your measurements, your preferred vendors you order from, your orders, and this is where I was referring to that sync piece. You have the option to decide how we sync that information back and forth with Shopify. So I'm running potentially low on something, but one of the big pain points a lot of small businesses have, they don't know inventory, right? They don't know the quantities, what's in stock, what's out of stock, or when to reorder. And this also translates to the accountants from the perspective of, you haven't given us a clean inventory. We're having to do these true up adjustments at the end of the period, and we don't ever have an accurate amount for our assets when we go into roll it into the P&L. So that can cause a lot of issues there. So the stock it side of it, this is where I want to show you. Here's where we have the opportunity to have inventory at a glance. Quantity on hand for a particular item, allocated to customers, and available to sell. So if you recall earlier, I showed a little bit, there was a little icon that showed, hey, there are 25 units of this shirt available to sell. That's dropped down because we allocated 2 to that sales order. So this is what's available to sell. This right here, I know this looks very simple and boring. It's just a little table, but is impactful on making sure we don't have downstream effects for your customer, and then also extra work for you as the accountant when they're trying to do an inventory adjustment and they're way off to what you actually have. Now, we can drill down into a particular location and we get notifications for low stock, out of stock. I inverted that, out of stock, low stock, red, orange, accordingly. And the way we do that is through a system called reorder points. And so in my Houston location, I actually have no inventory for this blue shirt, for this Xero shirt, but I have something called reorder points. And so in this, I'm going to show you 2 things in one shot: how we stock things and how we actually create POs. I'm going to do it the easy way. I have a system set up that if I ever hit below 30, I want to actually go ahead and order up to 50. All I have to do is click this checkbox, click reorder, click reorder. Okay, good. There's just a little bit of lag on my part there. And what this is going to do is create a draft. Now, I know I'm running up on time, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. I apologize. It creates a draft from your default vendor, and it'll bring in the last unit cost if applicable. All the details will come in. I can modify this order if need be. Let's go ahead and add my unit cost here. Let's say it's $50, 15 bucks. Go ahead and save. And if I were doing a reorder for multiple items and there were multiple vendors, all the POs would be drafted. Simple, straightforward. I can go ahead and issue. Now, once this PO is issued, what I can do from here is I can actually receive it. And I can receive it either in all or partial. This becomes really good for tracking inventory and getting clarity on it, again, for that small business owner. Once I've gone ahead and received that inventory, I can now create a bill that will book back into Xero Blue, into your core platform. Here's where you can add a lot of visibility. If there were landed costs that were paid for directly paid to the vendor, I can add that here. If I had additional costs that were not paid but to the vendor, but in relation to this particular shipment, I can add it here. When I click complete, this will create either 1 or 2 invoices that now sit on the AP inside of Xero Blue, giving you clear transparency there. So what I was able to show in the stock it side of things, what does inventory look like? It's details how that syncs with the e-commerce platforms, but also easy ways to reorder as needed and showing you the purchase process, the PO process, as well as receiving and creating the bills. The last part, and this is where I like the term making accounting sexy again, is reports. Who here doesn't love a report? Here's what we have available right now, and I want you to know that there are more features rolling out with regards to this. Every day, there's one open journal entry inside of Xero Blue that gets updated hourly with all the changes we've made. And at the end of the day, it closes out and you can reference it all here. These are the batch numbers for example, today's. These are the batch numbers for the 15th. It all goes into, let me bring you back into Xero. Let me bring you back to the manual journals. One clean entry. And this was done with the intention of e-commerce clients can have a large volume of transactions, and we don't want that basically bloating the GL and being difficult to manage. But we, as the accountants, as the bookkeepers, we want that detail. So the detail lives inside of Inventory Plus, your summarized clear entries impacting all COGS, all the related accounts, show up in Xero. Now, I wanted to leave some time for Q&As, so I'm going to actually go bounce back into my presentation, And let's ask the third polling question. I'll skip the fourth if that's okay with you, Annie, because I think you said 3 is enough.
Sure, let me just get that one launched.
I'll give you guys the easy one, and then I'll.
Where is that one? I lost it. Hold on.
All
Where'd
good.
it go? Oh, here it is. Okay.
All right.
This is definitely an easy one. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat. We're happy wherever it goes. We'll get them answered. But
And so I'll just wrap up, Amy, on my end. I do apologize, team. I wanted to leave a little bit more time for Q&As, but I'll answer them in the question box, and I'll be sure to reach out to you individually if need be. But with that being said, to summarize, we make things super easy for the small business, right? Seamless sales channels, easier order fulfillment. But for the advisor, it's that reduction in the reconciliation time, the tax side of things that Avalara is doing the heavy lifting for us in the background. And then it allows you as the advisor to potentially consider growing your portfolio. So that being said, the last thing I'll leave you with is if you'd like to request a demo, feel free to scan this. It'll put you through the process, and I can do a more deep dive with you. Or what we could also potentially do is use case analysis for existing customers.
all that stuff.
So
No questions, I guess. You just
there's one
answered
in the
everybody's
chat.
questions.
There's one in the chat. Amy, would you
Oh,
like me
okay.
to here, or would you like
Hold
me to
on.
type it via text?
No, we can do it now.
Okay.
So is this more e-commerce I work with, but also I was wondering if this would also work for data input of, say, outdoor storage units.
So you are correct, Scott, in your statement of, hey, this is more e-commerce focused. We have use cases with people that aren't e-commerce, but I think what might be good is I'm happy to have a call with you to dissect that. We have people that are doing it for manual orders, but they're off use case. So I want to make sure that you're clear as to what's included, what's not. Could it work? Yes. I need to know more data. So Scott, I'm happy to connect with you, and I'll coordinate with Amy if we can set up time.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Fahad.